Hello and welcome back to the Green Dragon channel. It has been a hot second since I made a video because people have been moving in with me. I did the first week of my Dungeons & Dragons and LARP summer camp. My website's in the description below if you would like to check that out. Here's a clip.
What happened to the tip of your sword, Lou?
Yeah, we're just specters.
It's just Ethan versus Teddy.
Is your leg gone? In the very beginning, and you're taking steps with 2 feet.
I didn't lose my leg. I
glanced
it off with my shield.
But all that aside, I apologize for having been away for so long to the 96 people who are currently subscribed. And I would like to just keep it simple. I have another camp next week, so I'm trying to get prepared and rest a little bit and do it again. So today I'm just going to read some more We Free Men. Last time we read about how the little red-headed men in kilts decided to give back the sheep that they stole to our heroine, Tiffany Aching. And I'll go back a little bit. The sheep was coming backward, and at high speed. It jerked to a halt a little way from the hedge and dropped down as the little men let it go. One of the red-headed men appeared for a moment on its head. He huffed on a horn, polished it with his kilt, and vanished in a blur. Tiffany walked back to the dairy, looking thoughtful. When she got back, the butter had been churned. Not just churned, in fact, but patted into a dozen fat golden oblongs on the marble she used when she did it. There was even a sprig of parsley on each one. Are they brownies? She wondered. According to the fairy tales, brownies hung around the house doing chores in exchange for a saucer of milk. But in the picture they'd been cheery little creatures with long pointy hoods. The red-haired men didn't look as if they'd ever drunk milk in their lives, but perhaps it was worth a try. Well, she said aloud, still aware of the hidden watchers, that'll do. Thank you, I'm glad you're very sorry for what you did. She took one of the cat saucers from the pile by the sink, washed it in the sink, filled it with milk from today's churn, then put it down on the floor and stood back. Are you brownies? She said. The air blurred. Milk splashed across the floor and the saucer spun around and around. I'll take that as a no then, said Tiffany. So what are you? There were unlimited supplies of no answer at all. She lay down and looked under the sink and then peered behind the cheese shelves. She stared up into the dark, spidery shadows of the room. It felt empty. And she thought, I think I need a whole egg's worth of education in a hurry. Tiffany had walked along the steep track from the farm into the village hundreds of times. It was less than half a mile long, and over the centuries the carts had worn it down so that it was more like a gully in the chalk and ran like a milky stream in wet weather. That's really cool. She was halfway down when the susurrus started. The hedges rustled without a wind. The skylarks stopped singing, and while she hadn't really noticed their song, their silence was a shock. Nothing's louder than the end of a song that's always been there. When she looked up at the sky, it was like looking through a diamond. It sparkled, and the air went cold so quickly that it was like stepping into an icy bath. And there was snow underfoot, snow on the hedges, and the sound of hoofs. They were in the field beside her. A horse was galloping through the snow behind the hedge that was now suddenly just a wall of white. The hoofbeats stopped. There was a moment of silence, and then a horse landed in the lane, skidding on the snow. It pulled itself upright, and the rider turned it to face Tiffany. The rider himself couldn't face Tiffany. He had no face. He had no head to hang it on. She ran. Her boots slipped on the snow as she moved, but suddenly her mind was as cold as the ice. She had 2 legs slipping on ice. A horse had twice as many legs to slip. She'd seen horses try to tackle this hill in icy weather. She had a chance. She heard a breathy, whistling noise behind her and a whinny from the horse. She risked a glance. The horse was coming after her, but slowly, half walking and half sliding. Steam poured off it. About halfway down the slope, the lane passed under an arch of trees, looking like crashed clouds now under their weight of snow. And beyond them, Tiffany knew the lane flattened out. The headless man would catch her on the flat. She didn't know what would happen after that, but she was sure it would be unpleasantly short. Flakes of snow dropped on her as she passed under the trees, and she decided to make a run for it. She might reach the village. She was good at running. But if she got there, then what? She'd never reach a door in time, and people would shout and run about. The dark horseman didn't look like someone who'd take much notice of that. No, she had to deal with it. If only she'd brought the frying pan. Here we hag, stand at ye still, right now! She stared up. A tiny blue man had poked his head up out of the snow on top of the hedge. "There's a headless horseman after me," she shouted. "He'll not make it, Hinny. Stand you still. Look him in the eye." "He hasn't got any eyes." "Cribbins, are you a hag or no? Look him in the eyes he hasna got." The blue man disappeared into the snow. Tiffany turned around. The horseman was trotting under the trees now, the horse more certain as the ground leveled. He had a sword in his hand, and he was looking at her with the eyes he didn't have. There was the breathy noise again, not good to hear. The little men are watching me, she thought. I can't run. Granny Aching wouldn't have run from a thing with no head. She folded her arms and glared. The horseman stopped as if puzzled, and then urged the horse forward. A blue and red shape, larger than the other little men, dropped out of the trees. He landed on the horse's forehead between its eyes and grabbed an ear in each hand. Tiffany heard the men shout, "Here's a face full of dandruff for you, you bogle courtesy, a big yan!" And then the man hit the horse between the eyes with his head. To her amazement, the horse staggered sideways. "All right," shouted the tiny fighter. "Big toughy is ya, one more with feeling." This time the horse danced uneasily the other way, and then its back legs slid from under it, and it collapsed in the snow. Little blue men erupted from the hedge. The horseman, trying to get to his feet, disappeared under a blue and red storm of screaming creatures, and vanished. The snow vanished. The horse vanished. The blue men, for a moment, were in a pile on the hot, dusty road. One of them said, "Ah, cribbins, I kicked myself in me own head." And then they, too, vanished, but for a moment Tiffany saw blue and red blurs disappearing into the hedge. Then the skylarks were back. The hedges were green and full of flowers. Not a twig was broken, not a flower disturbed. The sky was blue with no flashes of diamond. Tiffany looked down. On the toes of her boots, snow was melting. She was strangely glad about that. It meant that what had just happened was magical, not madness. Because if she closed her eyes, she could still hear the wheezy breathing of the headless man. What she needed right now was people and ordinary things happening. But more than anything else, she wanted answers. Actually, what she wanted more than anything else was not to hear the wheezy breathing when she shut her eyes. The tents had gone. Except for a few pieces of broken chalk, apple cores, some stamped down grass, and, alas, a few chicken feathers, there was nothing at all to show that the teachers had ever been there. A small voice said, "Psst!" She looked down. A toad crept out from under a dock leaf. "Miss Tick said you'd be back," it said. "I expect there's some things you need to know, right?" "Everything," said Tiffany. "We're swamped with tiny men. I can't understand half of what they say. They keep calling me a hag." "Oh, yes," said the toad. "You've got Knack McFeagles." "It snowed, and then it hadn't. I was chased by a horseman with no head, and one of the... What did you say they were?" "Knack McFeagles," said the toad, "also known as pixies. They call themselves the Wee Free Men." "Well, one of them head-butted the horse. It fell over. It was a huge horse, too." "Oh, that sounds like a feagle," said the toad. "I gave them some milk, and they tipped it over." "You gave the Knack McFeagle milk?" "Well, you said they're pixies." "Not pixies, pixies. They certainly don't drink milk." "Are they from the same place as Jenny?" Tiffany demanded. "No, they're rebels," said the toad. "Rebels against who?" "Everyone. Anything," said the toad. "Now pick me up." "Why?" "Because there's a woman at the well over there giving you a funny look. Put me in your apron pocket, for goodness sake." Tiffany snatched up the toad and smiled at the woman. "I'm making a collection of pressed toads," she said. "That's nice, dear," said the woman, and hurried away. "That wasn't very funny," said the toad from her apron. "People don't listen anyway," said Tiffany. She sat down under a tree and took the toad out of her pocket. "The Feagles tried to steal some of our eggs and one of our sheep," she said, "but I got them back." "You got something back from the Knack McFeagle," said the toad. "Were they ill?" "No, they were a bit, well, sweet, actually. They even did the chores for me." "The Feagle did chores?" said the toad. "They never do chores. They're not helpful at all." "And then there was the headless horseman," said Tiffany. "He had no head." "Well, that is the major job qualification," said the toad. "What's going on, Toad?" said Tiffany. "Is it the Feagles who are invading?" The toad looked a bit shifty. "Miss Tick really doesn't want you to handle this," it said. "She'll be back soon with help." "Is she going to be in time?" Tiffany demanded. "I don't know. Probably. But you shouldn't... I want to know what is happening." "She's gone to get some other witches," said the toad. She doesn't think you should. You'd better tell me what you know, Toad, said Tiffany. Miss Tick isn't here. I am. Another world is colliding with this one, said the Toad. There, happy now. That's what Miss Tick thinks. But it's happening faster than she expected. All the monsters are coming back. Why? There's no one to stop them. There was silence for a moment. There's me, said Tiffany. And that is the end of the chapter. I feel like that was a pretty short one today, but that's probably all the energy I have for. I might make another video today or tomorrow to have ready to upload next week, so that I don't have to do that when there are 6 children everywhere. Yeah. Again, sorry for the hiatus. Please like, share, subscribe. All of my social medias and my website will be in the link below. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye!